That was close.
Do I need to mute something?
No, it's not an emergency. I just
Okay.
it's about a topic we talked about earlier. I got a little more info on that through a text,
Oh,
and but I don't want to mention that live.
gotcha. Oh,
Oh, there's your baby, Kingdom Deliverance 2. Man, I really wish it was a fantasy because, like, I look at it
I
and
know,
I
dude.
keep
I feel
wrestling
you.
with it
I would much prefer it be, but
because, like, it looks when it's like a certain article we're talking about later. When it's in motion and the action's going on, it looks good. But I'm not into the period piece, man. I'm just not a period piece person. Not in that way. I prefer fantasy to like real world Dark Ages settings. So that very important part of the game is just an absolute whiff with me. But everything else looks great. But the point of the game is kind of that it's a period piece. So I'm like, like I'll probably do like I did the first one and snap it up on a sale, but I don't think you're. I know you're gonna grab it. It probably won't be a full price for me, just because I'm not a period piece guy. So not that period. That ain't my cup of tea. Pretty clearly obvious reasons. Like that ain't gonna be anything I'm gonna resonate with in particular. So, but the game looks so good. It's very tempting.
yeah. This is a little bit of an old. Well, listen, let me get started. Welcome to Dicejunkies. I'm Xenodamus. I'm here with.
Q.
Wow, like peek out the mics there with you. You're punching.
I have a lot of pent up aggression because I don't have anything to play right now.
Man.
Like
Let's,
I
well,
burned out on the one game I was
yeah.
playing.
Well, let's get started, and maybe we'll figure something out.
I've been combing through games, man.
It seems like you're not the only one. New game sales went down by 29% in Europe this year. Saying this year, and I mean last year. This was actually published right around Christmas. But I was thinking, I was like, it doesn't surprise me a lot, just out of the fact that we've had bad game years over and over and over, and I think people are starting to lose faith.
Dude, my best
suggestions
I'm getting, excuse me, for games to play are games that are already out. Like I went looking. This is a real occurrence. I went looking for what ARPG should I play in 2024 because I had ran through most of what I had on lock, and I got pointed to Dragon's Dogma 2, Skyrim. Yes, all the way back to Skyrim, Dragon Age Origins. And I said, people are suggesting I play like games with Tainted Grail is an older game. One of the other games I was like Arc something I saw was like from 2011, and I'm just like, how bad are the games that are coming out now?
Yeah,
that when you go looking at suggestions,
over a decade old,
than what we have now. But let's be real, we got a couple of bangers, but the game of the year wasn't even a competition. It was like 3 games that really were like just bangers, and then a couple of decent ones, and then a lot of trash. There were some categories that were empty almost
Speaking
of
game
games.
Of the year, Steam did have their own game of the year, and Black Myth Wukong got game of the year for Steam through Steam. Now this is a purely user vote, so
So it's real.
yeah.
It's a real game of the year. Okay, cool.
And then VR game was Metro Awakening. Labor of Love was Elden Ring, which I think is better to put the game under Labor of Love than put up a DLC vote as a full game.
Well, also they've been pretty hands on with Elden Ring. I mean, if I follow its patches and they're on it.
Basically, Labor of Love is just saying their DLC people enjoy it.
Hey, look, PlayStation even got theirs in. God of War Ragnarok, best game on Steam Deck. Mm-hmm. Helldivers 2 is it's PC also, but also a PlayStation game, and it's really good.
Yeah, this I think was probably a tight one between Space Marines and it.
Makes sense. Those two. I mean, I'm eyeballing Space Marines. Dude, I might have to go ahead and grab Space Marines. I don't know if I'm going to wait on you. I may have to snag it if I can't find anything else.
Yeah. Silent Hill got best outstanding
I've heard it was really good. I told you, I actually got pretty good, the best game you suck at award. I don't suck. I have gotten all 3 clears. I unlocked
Most innovative
the
gameplay
Great Sage
award
mode.
was this Liar's Bar. I'm not familiar.
It is a kind of like shotgun roulette, but also there's a lot more to it. It's an interesting game from what I've heard.
It seems very furry.
They're technically demons, if I'm right. Masquerading as animals from what someone told me, but I was told by a furry, so I don't know if it's true.
All right.
I know furries, yeah. I have a diverse group of friends.
Yeah, best game you suck at.
Best soundtrack.
Was Red Dead.
OG Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, they did a
Oh, they did? Wait a minute now. Maybe I'll have to go see what that looks like.
yeah,
I never got to do the Undead Nightmare. I completed the game before the Undead Nightmare
back in
mode came
October,
out.
They did a remaster.
Ooh.
It's
And I never got to play the Undead mode because it came out after I completed the game.
okay.
Oh wow, wait, that's a really big price.
$50, yeah.
Dang, if I'm gonna do that, I'll get a new game and
Well,
go ahead and
just
get.
wait for it to be on sale.
Yeah, I'd get Space Marines. If I'm paying full price, I'm gonna get a new game, and Space Marines is about the one I'm eyeing.
Then sit back and relax. Farming Simulator
25. That goes against what somebody said about violence being the only thing that sells, but we'll get to that.
I don't think he said it's the only thing that sells.
I know, but I like to be controversial. Shut up.
Yeah.
Got to throw a little seasoning on it, spice it up.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, even the Steam Awards had some repeats, you know?
I mean, some of those games, yeah. I mean, remastered Red Dead Redemption had soundtrack. But no, I mean, that's my point is that, like, even for competition, I remember being able, like, a few years ago to name, like, 6 potential games of the year. You know what I mean? And in each category, there being a lot of games. But this time around, I was like, it's pretty much Black Myth Wukong and maybe Final Fantasy. You know, like, it wasn't a lot.
That is true. Last year did have some bangers, though.
Yeah.
Because last year had Baldur's Gate 3, Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, Resident Evil 4.
It should have had Hogwarts.
Had Hogwarts Legacy. I mean, they listed that as one of the things that knocked up the game sales. Yeah, I mean, speaking of game sales, yes, Hogwarts Legacy is on there. Even Diablo 4 and Starfield, even though they weren't acclaimed because they...
Oh, they sold, though. Diablo 4 sold like
copies,
crazy.
Yeah. You know, Final Fantasy 14 or 16.
On console. It did awful on Steam.
Yeah. Mortal Kombat 1 came out last year.
And that's my thing is that, like... But now, and what it is they're not making games people want to play. I mean, if you really look at it, the reason new game sales are down is that when I look at the games that are coming out, I see, we will say to be polite, we'll say patterns of not being designed for the gamer audience. I don't understand that. It's still the weirdest thing. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, where you look at the gamer audience and go, you're not who we're making games for. And I'm like,
but I also think that this right here is it does show you why this year was sort of bad too, where these games sold a lot. Street Fighter 6 didn't do so well. Marvel Spider-Man 2
compared to the first one,
people got burnt on that one.
Diablo 4, Starfield,
and Diablo 4. A lot of people were upset about those purchases.
Mortal Kombat 1,
Jedi Survivor.
I thought Jedi Survivor was decent.
Actually, yeah.
I think people enjoy it.
People enjoyed that one. But yeah, so there was a lot of burns. So I think, you know, and then they talk about here, you know, Star Wars Outlaws and Dragon Age did greatly underperform. And I was like, yeah, because people waited. They didn't, you know, pre-orders were way down. And
there's an upcoming game that's having that same problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, a certain game that we were originally looking forward to that dropped off. This is just off the top, not a topic, but it's off the top. Is Avowed number 534 on the like sales list compared to 50 3 for Kingdom Come Deliverance, and 1 for number 1 for and 11, and for like Wild Monster Hunter Wild. Just basically hundreds of times doing worse than other games coming out in the same month. How are you 534 for February releases, man? That's like, but it's because of this, what I'm saying. They're not targeted at your audience. I don't understand this weird, we're not making games for the people that buy games, is the oddest business module I've ever seen. I'm not even going into detail. I've beaten this horse so much it ain't a horse no more. It's just a pile of Jello pudding. You know what I'm saying? Like, at this point. But they're not making their product for the people that buy the product.
Yeah.
And then they go, new game sales are down. And I'm like, well, let me check the new game sales. Oh, well, first of all, like, dang near 60+% of them are angry female protagonists. Like, well, let's see how that does in sales. It doesn't. I went looking for ARPGs. I can mention this. I went looking at ARPGs, the upcoming ARPGs. Less than 50% of them gave me even the option to play a male protagonist.
But dude, we have such
less than 50% of them.
Such really slimy types of business going on now. I mean, we see, release copies going out to previewers only like 3 days before the game's released. Then they're being having embargoes where they can only talk about certain things and certain things, and they basically have to lie, to be able to review.
It's not even a review because you got the copy only if you agree, and you're literally limited on what you're allowed to say. That's not a review if you tell me I can't tell people about your bad swordplay. You know what I mean? Or your bad physics. That's not even a review.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I am sort of looking forward to this next game, which is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Guess what? They're pushing out to reviewers already the game 4 weeks before release. You're getting the reaction you would normally get from developers, like fingers crossed, man. We've been working on this for 6 years. Hope these reviews go good. We're not sliding them money to know the reviews are going to go good.
I'm just wanting to know. I want one of you reviewers to grab a flipping controller and then tell me what you had. I need controller play, multi-person combat, because it was a very specific gripe. It wasn't even all of the combat. It was a very specific scenario that was unbearably difficult. And if they fix that, I don't know, dude, but Wilds comes out. It's like I said, it's like, I know I'm buying Wilds. I shouldn't buy both of these games because I won't have the time. I mean, I'm a dad, man. Like, I don't have time to split between both games.
Yeah.
But I also want to cut a sucker. You know what I'm saying? I want to get back. I enjoyed those duels.
I'm definitely picking it up, man. Like, unless
well, you've got all the time, yeah.
Unless some reviewer comes out and just shows me something that is just amazingly awful, I know that I'm going to get it. But,
Are you at least going to join me on Wilds? You're not going to make me play it by myself, are you?
Yeah, I'm going to join you on Wilds.
Yeah, be sure. You know you like your dual blade.
When is Wilds coming out?
It's later, unfortunately. That's the other reason this is so tempting. I wish Kingdom Hearts was coming out. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 comes out before Wilds. Because Wilds, I think, is like the end of February. Unless I'm misremembering. I don't know. I'm not following it like a fanboy. But oh, wait. What's that? 28. Yeah, the 28th. And if I'm right, Deliverance 2 comes out like early February. So you're going to have your game weeks before I have mine. And that's why I'm kind of like, because I mean, I don't have anything going for almost a full 2 months. Because it's going to take a miracle for Avowed to get off my crap list. I mean, they got to fire that guy pretty much. He's just got to go. That art director goes, I'll believe maybe you're trying. But as long as he's there, and the practices he does, y'all know Q. You hit my bottom line, you're not getting my money.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk more about Path of Exile later, but I mean, we've gotten to where it just needs to cook.
They need to go on and release the other classes, some other stuff, man. Yeah. Maybe some more acts, but we'll get into that. But yeah, that's going to be more of just a personal, us chatting about our experience with the game. But it's upcoming.
And then Call of Duty, we'll talk about that now. Call of Duty.
I was having so much fun, but it really fell off, man.
Dude, I fell off way before you fell off, man. I haven't played it since Thanksgiving.
I play zombie games, but the new guns have been disappointing. The new events have been disappointing. And that's just for me on single player. Apparently, the multiplayer scene has been a hot mess.
Well, I got tired of the grind, and now from what I hear, my way of grinding quick when I was able to play.
Super nerfed to directed mode grind.
Yeah.
Just insane. You could sit for up to 40 to 45 seconds doing nothing, no zombies on the screen. I don't know what made this go into their head. They already almost lost me with my shotgun nerf. My shotgun nerf really, really broke my heart because I loved playing shotguns and zombies.
Thank you, Flynn.
All right.
I use
Mine or yours?
My mic.
Okay.
My mic was low.
But you know, but yeah, they've lost over 40%. And the reason why I've been understanding has been microtransactions are ridiculous. The multiplayer is glitchy. They have skill-based matchmaking is not working.
Yeah.
They do skill-based damage is highly suspected, and nobody likes you messing with their literal ability to play the game to try to make it fun for other people. Where like, oh, I got too many kills. Now I'm doing less damage.
Yeah.
And I've seen enough videos that I am convinced that's happening. I've watched a lot of gameplay and multiplayer where I'm like, okay, this guy knows exactly how many bullets it takes to make a kill. He used 3 times that amount.
Here's my thing. I mean,
and it isn't working.
I was planning on playing zombies. I enjoyed zombies, but I also wanted to play multiplayer. And when I got into multiplayer, it was just crap, dude.
Yeah.
It didn't play well. Did not play well at all.
And you're a keyboard.
Now I will say, I played single player. I enjoyed the single player. Looked beautiful. You know, played great. I enjoyed the campaign. It was short. I think that was probably my biggest problem with the campaign was it was short. But Call of Duty campaigns have never been super long.
Yeah, it's not really for that. Yeah.
But it was a fun campaign.
Yeah, but like I said, and apparently it has dropped like 30 to 40% depending on where you're looking in its player base, which is wild amount of drop. I've heard people calling it dead because the thing is, the amount of drop is equal to the amount of gain they had when it started. Because you know they're measuring the whole Call of Duty player base.
Yeah.
And when Call of Duty 6 came out, it jumped up by like I think 140,000 or so players. Then it bounced back down already. So yeah, you're going to get punished for being good, and if you weren't good, they're now punishing you for not being good if you were in directed mode to level, because directed mode has a level cap. It stops at a certain wave, and the waves don't get more difficult.
Well, because zombies has always been just more of the fun mode, and for some reason they don't want it to be fun, I guess.
Well, like I said, like the nerf of the Dragon Fire that everybody was enjoying. It's like, dude, let people
it's just zombies, dude. It's a joke anyway. Zombies has always been a joke. People get on it to just blast things, kill things. It's funny. It's not meant to be serious. I mean, you got Pack-a-Punch and all that other crap you would not normally have. And
it's filled with jokes. Every drink is a pun. It's a joke mode. The GSP got nerfed,
and it's like for some reason,
why are you trying to balance?
Yeah, and it's like for some reason after they created it, they forgot the joke. They forgot their own joke,
and it's the game's dying. I mean, effectively by Call of Duty standards, mind you, it's got still more than most other games.
Oh no, I mean Call of Duty is still a very popular game.
Yeah,
it looks beautiful.
Yeah, but by the standards of the franchise. Call of Duty 6 will be considered another one of their flops as it's going right now.
Which, I mean, Call of Duty, it's yeah. I still wish Ubisoft wasn't such a fuck up because, you know, I've always preferred Ghost Recon.
I enjoyed Black Ops 2, and I was smart enough not to play in a long time. I came back for 6 because it was on my Game Pass.
Yeah.
But if I paid for this game, I would be very unhappy. I'll admit it. I would not be happy if I bought Call of Duty 6. I'd be very pissed.
I don't know. You've put enough hours in it, man. You would have got your money's worth out of it.
Yeah, but not what I was promised. I mean, it's Call of Duty. I'm supposed to have the seasons are supposed to get better. The events supposed to get better, but they're getting worse.
Yeah.
Dude. Each event was worse than the previous event. And from what I understand, The current event is also trash and zombies, and everybody hates it. So, like, every event they put out has been worse because nobody liked the Jingle Hells one. So it's like every event is significantly worse than the previous event. And you're just like, I've never seen the game go down each season. But, like, Call of Duty seems to be getting worse for zombies, at least, every...
And I haven't really played any of the special events because I've been either out of town when they've been doing it or doing something else.
He's missed all the double XP weekends.
Yeah.
And maybe the problem is violence. Maybe the game is too violent.
Well, I mean, honestly, that's what we want out of zombies. You just want violence. So he could be right there.
Who could be right?
Huh?
Who could be right?
Who could be right? Well, the co-creator of Fallout.
Who's that? No, I'm just messing with him.
You messed my flow up, man. Games will continue to default to violence if we keep buying them, says Fallout co-creator. This is why I tell people to vote with their dollars. I do agree with that. Vote with your dollars, man.
Yeah. Well, we did vote. We voted for violence.
We voted for violence. Woo!
Hey. Apparently, Farm Simulator 25 is doing pretty good.
There you go.
And racing games. Let's be real. The most popular racing games aren't the combat ones. It's been the genuine car racing games. So it's the genre, man. I disagree. This is what we're going to probably debate about because I get it that he's not trying to make a blanket statement, but it comes off as one. And I'm like, look, man. Especially because he mentions AAA RPGs. And I'm like, if a AAA RPG doesn't have violence in it, then it's a slice of life simulator. It's not an RPG.
Not exactly, but Fallout co-creator Tim Kaine has opened up on why he thinks violence sells when it comes to AAA games, particularly RPGs. Let's see, on New Year, he posted a video to YouTube why so many AAA RPGs expect and often require the player to do combat. Now, here's the thing. I mean, dude, we have seen people do runs of like Elden Ring and stuff like that with as little combat as possible.
Yeah.
But now, here's the thing. I mean, Fallout is one of those that gives you alternatives to combat, and that's what I think he may be talking about, is not a lot of games do good with those alternative situations in RPGs for combat. You know, the charisma and you know, stealth and stuff like that. Most of them stick you in situations where combat is the only answer.
But his statement of it's a thing that it's the customers doing it, it's a bad thing. Look at one of the best games of the year of its time. One game of the year, Baldur's Gate 3, which offers many, many, many optional workarounds.
Yeah, but even combat. I mean, but I will say I think they missed the point in their advertisement, because if you look at now, here's the thing. Baldur's Gate 3 advertised sex and violence. That's what they advertised. Now, it is a great RPG with a great story and is not all about violence. You know, there are a lot of options of what you can do, but that wasn't what they targeted. And that may be where I think he's got the wrong idea as well. I think the industry has the wrong idea of what people are looking for. We keep getting things that we don't want. I mean, we got more of this, DEI stuff, that's coming up, that's been a big targeting selling point of a lot of games. And obviously it isn't what people want. I think people do want more story, but for some reason the game industry, and I think it may be because the super violent games, that's all they're about right now, people are buying them because they don't have any politics in them.
I believe that that's it. I mean, let's be real. The violent games tend to lean away from certain topics, and you almost have to find a violent game. Like, the only way, I had one of the things about Black Myth Wukong that I think made it appeal to people that didn't know anything about the story is that with what the characters were, they knew there wasn't going to be a high likelihood of some weirdness in it. And sometimes you just want to dodge that. Like I said, I went looking for upcoming ARPGs. And I saw a recurring theme, which is that you almost can't find a male character at all. I think I saw 2 male characters out of like some 20 ARPGs I was looking at that were single player. And that's just crazy. And it's like, and there was a time that wouldn't matter to me, but we know it's intentional. You know, you don't have the trust you had before.
Yeah.
So it automatically made me pull back from those games. And thus, in the games that I did see with male characters, guess what? They were also violent. They were pretty berserk. The first Berserker. You know, it's like this ultra-violent game. And I'm like, well, maybe it's not the violence as much as it is people are pulling away from certain themes. And those themes are because the same people that are in those themes also aren't that into the violence because they consider it toxic masculinity. So when you see the violence, you're kind of going, there's a pretty good chance this game is not going to be calling me toxic for wanting to shoot a gun. It's not going to be anti-gun.
The Dragon Age series. The Dragon Age series has always been heavy story driven. Lots of options.
But also bloody.
Yeah, it's also bloody. But at the same time, anytime we have something with a lot of story right now that gets taken over.
And what else also got removed from it? What did Veilguard lack? Blood. They didn't have that you got covered in blood. They didn't have that. That you didn't do the whole.
Yeah.
So, when they took the violence out, they also, like, a big common 2 things put together is the removal of the violence, and it's replaced with propaganda. I don't care. I'm just going to say it. Propaganda. And thus, when you see ultraviolet, for example, when we all saw the Doom trailer, and we saw him run around Doom Dark Ages, we said, we're not going to see a flag.
Maybe.
No, we're not. So, you feel safe the second you see that. If a video game video starts off with a dude running up and chopping a dude's head off and there's a spray of blood, I'm immediately like, this is probably not a woke game. And then I'm right. So maybe he's missing the fact that the violence is unfortunately, and I do mean unfortunately, that shouldn't have to be an indicator that a game is not going to preach at you, but it is a good sign because I haven't seen a really gory game that also was preachy. That just hasn't occurred. And they've made it to where you almost want mindless violence because, one of the topics that I don't think we're going to bother covering, but we were looking at is the removal of father figures and male mentors in comics and games where they're being erased because, I don't know, honestly, there's no logical reason.
They're
not even the main character. They're removing them from female characters.
I play a lot of games that aren't violent, though. Heck, I play a lot of my Space 4X games, like Galactic Civ and stuff like that. And, hell, the violent way of winning the game is the hardest way to win. And it's not just because it's the hardest way to win because it's difficult, which it is, but it's also the hardest way to win because it's hard not to win one of the other ways before you finish killing everybody off, because you can win by, like, influence. You can win by, getting your technology to such a high level. You win by collecting so much resources. So I have to turn off all the other way to win so that I can win the violent way.
Well, it's the same thing. You've seen me play games. I tend to do the good aligned play when I'm playing a game. And that usually is trying to kill as few people as possible.
Yeah.
And that's normally what I'm doing. If there's a way to avoid combat that's the good aligned ending to a quest, I will always, first time around, go for that. I don't ever default to violence. I try to go, is there a way to get by this where I don't have to shoot this guy? When I played Stalker 2, I kept save scumming to try to not be like, is there a way to not have to kill this guy to get this done? What's the lowest body count I can accomplish?
Think about anime tropes. how cool would it be if I could play Skyrim and a bunch of bandits jump out, and instead of killing them, I'm able to knock them out and have the guard come get them and get a reward for handing over bandits. I would hand over the bandits every time to get the reward.
Yeah. I mean, dude, when I played Red Dead Redemption, like, I only killed who I had to.
Yeah.
I captured guys and lassoed them up as much as I could and brought them in. So like you said...
Well, that's a mechanic of Red Dead Redemption.
It's in there, yeah. So, now here's right that it's hard to advertise that on it, but I will admit, dude, I'm sorry, we do have a short attention span. Also, I've been burned. I've been burned on games that promised me a great story and had the worst gameplay ever. So, no, I'm wanting to see how the game plays. Because here's the truth, and this is what my biggest debate was. I love the guy's energy. I get what he's saying. But he's talking like he's making TV shows and movies. You're making video games. Ultimately, they're meant to be played. So gameplay is got to be shown, and gameplay is going to usually include, because he even mentions, you show a person running and jumping and swinging. I'm like, yeah, I want to make sure that works, because here's the truth. I've played a lot of games, Borderlands 3, before they got the good DLC. Even I played a lot more Wonderlands than y'all. And the reason I was able to play that much is because a game with a bad story but really fun and great gameplay, still playable. And plenty of people do that. Hey, you just mentioned Call of Duty's main story, really short. That's because people don't come to Call of Duty for the single-player campaign. But a game with bad gameplay but a good story is unbearable. Well, I mean, you won't even complete it because the bad gameplay will stop you.
I mean, good example, Outer Worlds. We saw the preview for Outer Worlds, the first one. And from the preview, it seemed like it had an awesome story. The dialogue was funny. It was on point, Yeah,
perfect.
But then when you got to play the game, that was the dialogue. Like, that was, there wasn't a lot more.
And more importantly, the gameplay was mediocre.
Yeah. And
which is why I didn't even get all the way through it.
I mean, honestly, if the dialogue would have been as fun as the trailer all the way through the game, I would have been able to get through it even if the gameplay wasn't that great.
The trailer really sold it.
It was hilarious. It was fun. You had all these different corporations that never came into play in the game hardly.
But here's the thing that I can counterpoint you with. But if the gameplay had been amazing, I definitely would have completed it.
Still would have been disappointed, though, because I would
have completed the game.
Because they sold me on the story for that game. They did.
I know. But if you really enjoyed the gameplay, you still would have completed even when
I completed the game anyway.
But you get my point. For example, Fallout 4 story is hit or miss. But the gameplay was pretty good, especially with mods. But also, it was a pretty fun game. I played through it repeatedly. Here's a good example. Replay of a game is usually because the gameplay is fun enough for you to replay. And you don't mind, once you've already gotten all the endings, why do you keep playing the game? Because it's fun to play. So gameplay to me is a very big factor. And thus, and I know he's saying violence, but the stuff he mentions also just kind of describes general gameplay. And I'm like...
Yeah, it's more action mechanics.
And he did say action RPGs. Now, if he had just said RPGs, I'd be like, yeah, man, every RPG doesn't have to be violent. But an action RPG has action in the title.
Well, no, I mean, he claims that action RPGs sell more than classic RPGs because of
the action,
of the violence, and how easy it is to show the swing, the action, and all that stuff. Versus, it's harder to sell a classic RPG because they are more story driven, and it's harder to sell a story than it is to sell.
I mean, that's true, but then it's a game. Yeah. Gonna have to have a good. You gotta pull him in with the game and then surprise him with the story. He's right. I agree with him there. You usually got to look at Baldur's Gate 3. Nobody thought Baldur's Gate 3 was going to be a very story innovative game. People were like, "This game's going to be wild. Look at all the nudity they keep telling you about." Because he's right. It's sold on nudity and violence. Like, I heard way more about how many ways you could screw in that game than I did what classes you could play.
Yeah.
But it turns out the game was quite in depth. And like Flynn was saying, Skyrim over 20 years is still going.
Well,
Very
it is
true,
an
because the
action
game's got
RPG,
good
yeah.
gameplay. It's got a fun story, a lot to do. But Bethesda is a good example of selling a game on story over gameplay, because let's be real, the Bethesda game engine is not great, but you come back because it's a good RPG, you know. So it's not always the case.
Yeah.
But he's not wrong. I just wanted to though push the counterpoint though that I'm saying, yeah, no, I am a guy that I want to see your action. I want to see what you're doing. Like we were talking, like we were looking at Borderlands 4, and I have no opinion on it because they haven't told me what my classes are, and they haven't shown me any real gameplay. And they're trying to say, well, the story, screw you, you're Gearbox. No, you're never going to convince me. You're going to have to show me in game, sucker, because I ain't never going to buy a Gearbox game expecting a story. So show me your gameplay.
I mean, I hope it has a good story. That would make that would make
But
great
you don't
for
believe it will.
Borderlands. But I also don't necessarily play Borderlands because of the story.
It's a looter shooter.
Yeah.
Playing it for looter shooting. Now, if I can get a good story to go with it, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That's the greatest of all worlds. But if I had to pick between the two, for a Borderlands game, I want it to play good. Because I know what a bad Borderlands game plays like.
I will say you've sort of bent me. You know, gameplay definitely trumps story. Even, I mean, if you got good gameplay, you can overlook a bad story.
Plus, out of the two things, it's easier to fix if it's bad. It's easier to fix a bad story.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing that probably. I mean, I do it a lot. I know I do it a lot. I'll redo the story in my head to make it better.
But no, I mean, even in real life, here's a perfect example. We've seen games get expansions and updates.
Yeah.
Look at Borderlands 3 again. The main story was god-awful. DLCs were masterpieces. All the DLCs. I loved them all. Amazing DLCs. Oh, man, Krieg's one was like a tearjerker. Like, honestly, man. But all of them were very good. Because you can do that with a story. You can add on. You can polish it up. Heck, you can put a patch in and change it if you feel like it. But if your game doesn't play worth crap, I've rarely seen people fix a game that just really played bad, unless it was like the rare isometric. Isometrics do that, but isometrics are a weird category.
Borderlands, the DLCs are stories. I mean, that's
and good ones,
and they're completely separate, really, from the main game.
Which
you
helps.
know, it's just a short story.
Like, I still believe Wonderlands could have worked if they had been willing to put out a proper DLC, because the game played perfectly fine. Oh my God, the story and those little weird things they dropped that were not really DLCs were so god-awful. And yet I still played all of them, because guess what? The game played well, so there you go. But, I mean, I know this from him, too, because I played games with him, and the games he plays the longest are the games that play well. He drops games that play poorly really fast, especially multiplayer games that play poorly. Like, they ain't got WASD, they're in trouble. By the way, they still haven't. They're still being flaky about it. I don't think Last Epoch's gonna get it, man. They're being real iffy about it. So I don't know if I can lure them back to Last Epoch. And honestly, I don't know if I want to jump on until they at least do it, because I'm getting annoyed for you now that they're so like, oh, well, we're looking at it. I don't know. We can't promise anything. I'm like, okay, well, I can't promise you're going to get any more money out of me. Like, sorry, man. It's like markets are too competitive to not be able to do basic crap. What is with that? What is with games not being able to do stuff that games before them could do? Why does it feel like the tech is dumbing down? Like, we've even looked at other games and noticed that we talked about how Borderlands 1's world felt way more open.
Yeah.
Borderlands 2, the game just kept getting more linear and more crunched in at points. You know, then they finally, now the main world, they got a little bigger at the beginning of Borderlands 3, but like, you see this weird shrinking. Kingdom Hearts did that. Larger maps, smaller, more linear.
Well, I
more
mean,
instanced. Like,
Elder Scrolls. I mean, we started off with, some of the most customizable
Crunchy.
magic and enchanting with Morrowind and Daggerfall, and then you had
they added on in DLC.
well, but Morrowind was the pinnacle of the customization.
True.
Oblivion, they dumbed it down.
They did.
But they also opened up the world a lot
It
more.
was a huge world, yeah. And then they patched back in the magic creation.
And they patched, and they did.
I mean, the DLC, I bought it.
It wasn't
sold
to
it
the
to
extent of Morrowind.
I couldn't fly. You're right. I wanna fly.
I will tell you, Morrowind was stupid now because you
That's
could.
the point, though.
Yeah,
You can fly.
you can fly. Yeah, you
When
can.
I heard you could fly, I was heartbroken. I want to fly.
And you could break the game because you could pass through. You could fly.
That one just feels like it would break the
You
game.
could pass through walls.
Oh, that would break the game.
You could randomly teleport places, and you could actually find the end boss before he was actually the end boss, kill him, and the game would just be like, oh, well, the game's over.
I think Two Worlds did that, where like you could kill the guy who's like he makes a mistake and coming to pick on you when you're low level, but you could stick the guards on him, and the guards could kill him, and thus end the game. That was like the speed run of that game.
Yeah, there was a lot of things you could do broken in that game because of it, but it's a single player game too, so.
Well, dude,
Who
it was
cares?
my complaint
It was
about
fun.
Outer Worlds. What I will dislike about Outer Worlds is after playing Fallout in New Vegas, where your equipment was modular, you had landmines, a lot more strategies, each piece was customizable. When I got to Outer Worlds, my biggest thing is that it's just a spacesuit and a helmet and these guns, and I can't customize anything to any real degree. And I went, this feels really dumbed down compared to the last big game I played of theirs. Why does this feel so dumbed down? And that was the gameplay element that took me out. And then the comedy, like, we saw the best parts in the trailer. After that, it got really dull. All the dialogue and everything got really dull. And I went, this is a very boring experience. The combat's not satisfying. The comedy's not landing.
For those of us who got to the end, we realized that the whole decision-making system really wasn't that big of a deal.
I think you have not a lot of none of it affected the ending really much at all.
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, you can play it as an asshole, or you can play it as somebody who's trying to gather people to help you fight the big guy. And in the end, it changed some cinematics and how many NPCs were there, but the NPCs didn't really do much. They did make it easier at the end. So I guess by playing as a good guy, your ending's easier because more people show up to help you fight the end boss. And that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, other than a joke ending of flying into the ship into the sun, that's about it. It wasn't really like a lot of, like you said, variance or just impact, and that was odd. You barely interact with the corporation.
You don't interact with the corporation.
Yeah, I thought you'd be able to side with the corporation
No, here's the thing.
and all that.
There was bars for your,
But it didn't do anything.
but you couldn't. Yeah, there was no option to get any notoriety with them. So you were just neutral the whole game because I was assuming it was something maybe
a slight price discount, but you don't even get to talk to anybody from them really. You
Yeah.
don't get to interact with your head corporation and try to take that. I thought I was going to be able to do corporate espionage. I'm going to go. I remember going and attacking facilities thinking I'm going to make my company. No, just. And they didn't get that pissed off I did it. Like you said, you couldn't really even piss them off and go to war with them. It was very odd. But they're claiming none of that's going to be the case in Outer Worlds 2. Xeno will let me know, because unless I see more, for now, it's not on my list.
Well, it's going to be a release that'll be on the Microsoft Game Pass. So.
All right, I'll give it a spin on Game Pass.
Yeah.
As long as they don't say anything weird. Oh, wait, no, but this is Obsidian, though, so they're probably going to say something weird.
There's that.
I forgot. Obsidian has been, because the whole Avowed thing, so
Yeah.
I heard his feelings there. He was looking forward to. He was planning to play Outer Worlds 2. Now we don't know. I put him in a doubting area. So, what's this Devolver Digital you're looking at? This face again. Oh, this face. We've seen this face a lot. The president of Sweet Baby Inc. Such a
Recent
lovely
Sweet Baby
person.
Inc. game potentially revealed from Popular Studio. So distributor Devolver Digital has a lot of indie games such as the Talos Principle and
Cult of the Lamb.
Cult of the Lamb.
Inscripted and a couple of others. Well, it's a popular indie company that's known for a nice quality to its games. Well, they released a game in collaboration with a Nariel Ltd studio named Crush House that unfortunately it has been discovered is literally staffed by, there's some Sweet Baby Inc. employees on the board. And as you know, SBI is considered poison in the gaming industry, so it has gotten Digital Devolver, like, they're getting bad press off of it, man.
Well,
it's not working for them.
So Nerio is one of the subsidiaries of Digital. So, I mean, with having a subsidiary that's in bed with the devil, I mean, now everything you do is in question. I mean, that's just
getting them that bad eye.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, indie companies live off of their rep. Like, this is bigger than what Sony does it, because Sony is Sony. Sony will never be overshadowed by Sweet Baby Inc. It'll just get a black eye and roll with the punches. But an indie studio can sink. How do we know? How many times have we covered this on this show of companies going literally out of business? There was another company we covered last time, didn't we, that was begging for money. You know, I don't think we covered that. I don't know. You may have ditched that one. But, like, there was a company that worked with Sweet Baby Inc. and then they were begging for money. You know, they're asking you to, I think we might have covered it. Were they asking you to Patreon them? And we're like, no, sell me a game. Like, don't ask me to give you money just for free. Like, make games. If your games are doing this poorly, Patreon's not going to solve the problem. You need to make better games. But Sweet Baby Inc. is poison. Kim Belair is poison. Well, okay, I shouldn't say her personally. The company's reputation is very poorly received. And thus, whether you're even in bed with them, once you get tagged on one of their, tagged working with them, you immediately are losing people. You're immediately losing props. You're losing respect. You're, like, for me, it makes me look like, for example, Digital Devolver games now, they're on my list, man. I'm going to be looking. I'm not saying I won't give them a chance. I'm saying I'm going to eye them and say what's in it. I'm going to be looking for the Sweet Baby steak. And it's a shame because it's really just a little side game. It's terrible. I mean, Crush House is like one of the worst looking games I've seen. It looks awful. But the point is, it's the kind of game that would normally just fail and fall under the radar. But because of Sweet Baby Inc., it's catching attention. And thus is catching scrutiny. And unfortunately, show them some screenshots. It's a very terrible looking game. Like, it's graphically awful. Like this weird, I don't even want to call it cell shaded style. That's a doctored, like a real game. We don't want to show them doctored. But like, look at these character models. They look awful. Like, it's just really not well done. Oh my God, is that the numbers? Oh, wow. I think that's actually the worst I've seen. I think Concord had more players after it was canceled. I think it had more players after it was canceled. Just remember, there was a few people still.
No, but I mean, that's the thing, dude. I mean, I don't think the story is that this game is got DEI. I think the story is that a trusted publisher such as the Digital Devolver is associated with publishing a game with SBI.
And not lightly. Like, they have two full-time staff members from SBI working in the area. Like, working in the company.
And this is my question here. And Flynn says, is the bad press warranted? They're former SBI employees. Are they accused of doing the same thing?
Now, according to what I've seen, they're full-time employees. They're not former. Well, are they former or are they current?
And my question of is the bad press warranted does come down to digital. I mean, Devolver Digital, they're a publisher, man. This company,
yeah, they didn't make the game. Like I said, it was published by a subsidiary that they probably weren't even looking at.
This company, Nereal, that is a subsidiary that they publish, never even heard of.
And very few games.
And we talk about this, man, and you've talked about this with, if they want to create these types of games, you know, you've said, let them see who wants to buy it.
Absolutely.
And I think Digital Devolver or Devolver Digital, I think they would be in the wrong if they said no to publishing the game. Now, I think
I disagree.
I think it also depends on the contract because I think because publishing contracts are weird, man. Because some publishing contracts come with a money up front, some of them come on the back end, some of them have penalties, and so when it comes to somebody who wants to create these types of games, somebody has to be willing to publish them, man. And I don't think publishing them is necessarily a bad idea.
Well, no, I agreed with you that I felt the Digital Devolver is getting a bum rap in the form of, outside of one example, I'm going to tell you why in the end they did screw up and it is their fault. But on the surface, yeah, no, completely. Because I've always said it, let them make their games. I agree. And, hold on, let me finish up. And there's nothing wrong with the game. It's a Crush House game. Whatever is in there, it makes sense. It's meant to be drama. It's weird romances. It doesn't look great, but there's nothing wrong with the game. So I agree completely, and it's a shame that Digital Devolver is getting a bad press. I agree too. But as a businessman, if they made this game, but it wasn't Sweet Baby Inc., I would be like, not even saying this. But I will say that in the case of Sweet Baby Inc. specifically, they have such an awful reputation in the industry at the same time. You deserve what you get if you choose to partner with them. Because they have attacked gamers. They've said they hate gamers. And SBI is unique. SBI is not just some DI group that's being bullied on. They have attacked people. There have been reveals from people working at a company that they mistreat their employees awfully, especially white employees and straight employees that are within the company. They're terrible people, and they have a terrible rep for a very valid reason. And while everybody that went to a P. Diddy party didn't do nothing wrong, if you kept going to P. Diddy parties after all this been revealed, you kind of deserve to get looked at funny.
You can't relate it like that, dude. For one, the publishing...
Well, I don't mean in that way. I don't mean in that way. No, I didn't mean like... I meant in that...
For one, hold on. The publishing contract, we don't even know if the publishing contract was already done before the SBI's involvement, for one. For two, the minute you say, we're not going to publish you because of Sweet Baby Inc., you make Sweet Baby Inc. like a martyr, dude.
Well, first of all, you don't say why. You just decide not to put the game out. Like, you just go, yeah, we don't think this is a fiscally solid game. That's all you do. Like, who's dumb enough to go, we're not putting you out because you're Sweet Baby Inc.?
You do that with a contract. You do that with a contract and say, we're not going to give you any money for this game. We'll publish it, and if it makes money, then, you can get this portion of it. If it doesn't, then... and if it does this bad, we're going to penalize you. We
ourselves have avoided working with people when their reputation got bad enough or something terrible.
We're not a publishing company, though. We're an opinion channel, dude. We're entertainment.
But I'm saying that I think that it's a valid business move to avoid poison if you know it's poison.
I think it's a dangerous business move to do it.
We disagree.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. You're saying that, it ain't working out for them. It ain't working out for him. I mean, we're going by the current. It ain't working out for him. Game's not selling, and there's articles coming out about him.
I mean, look, I'll call out the Sweet Baby Inks as well as I'll call out, that Park Place when they go too far. Honestly,
they do. Yeah, they've had a couple of clickbait.
I think this is on SBI Detected going a little too far to push Devolver Digital into it. I agree. You can talk about Nereal. You can talk about Nereal all you want. Devolver Digital is just a publisher.
I know, and I agree. But it doesn't change the fact that you should have seen this coming, though. Did you think they weren't going to do this? It's what's going to happen. Everyone hates SBI that much. So you're getting me wrong. You think I'm saying Digital Devolver is in the wrong. I'm saying from a business perspective, you knew this was going to happen.
But you did say they were in the wrong.
No, I even said that this game existing is not problematic. I said the game's
No,
fine.
you said Digital Evolver because it was SBI. They were in the wrong.
From a business, my first sentence from a business perspective.
But from
And
a business perspective,
trying to make money, I would avoid poison. Even getting my, I don't even want my
I don't
name
think this is.
in the
I don't
thing
think
set.
this is really going to hurt Devolver Digital. The
Why
people
risk
who are
it, though? What's
the people who are fans of their other subsidiaries' products are going to still be fans of their other
Tell me the
subsidiaries'
risk
products.
reward though. Why though? Why even risk? Oh God, is that all in the game? Okay. Yeah, man, you're just losing from every. That was horrible. Oh God. All right, he's getting proven wrong while we're sitting here. Like I just saw drag queens and other weird stuff popping up in this game. This game is very bizarre. All right, maybe I was wrong about the game being a bit much. I was trying to be nice, but oh, it's getting worse by the minute. Anyway, so now I'm distracted. My point is from a purely business perspective, if I'm your guy who you're saying, make sure we stay profitable, I'm going to look at this and go, you know what? Let's just pass.
I don't think it's going to
Let's
hurt
just
their
pass.
profits.
Why risk it? Why risk it, though? You're arguing to risk losing money for no reason.
No
reason whatsoever.
I'm not saying that.
Why even do it?
I'm saying, just like you said, maybe there's enough audience out there.
We saw the audience. It was 14. No, there isn't. The audience is 14.
Now they know.
14 players.
Now they know.
We knew before they did it. And you know we knew before they did it.
Yeah, but they needed statistics.
No, they didn't. They needed statistics. I could pull you a whole bunch of games. Dude, the statistics are already out there.
I know.
I know you're devil's advocating, and I don't blame you. Somebody has to fight for them. But there are some things you know just aren't going to work.
I think as a publisher, though, it's you got to sometimes give people a chance.
And I do agree. I don't have a problem with this game existing, even after what I just saw.
We don't know.
Not SBI.
Nerial could have paid Devolver Digital to publish this. You realize
That's
okay,
possible. That's
here's
possible.
the thing, man. If I write a book, and I've looked into publishing books, so I know a little more about how they work. Well, if I write a book and I go to a publisher and I present my book and I'm like, hey, I want to get this book published. They'll get, usually they'll have somebody do a read through. They'll read through. They may come back and say, okay, well, we need to get you an editor because we need to get, clean some things up, clarify some things better if they think it's a good story. They may tell you no. But usually how it works is if they deem it good, they give you a lump sum up front, and then a contract for once it's made so much money, you get this much, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Now, when they tell me no, there are indie publishers, and most of the indie publishers, if you go to them and you say, can you publish my book? They'll look at it. They'll go, this is crap. And you can go, well, I really want my book published. How much will it cost? And then you're putting up the money. And if you put up the money, usually those publishers will never deny you.
Also, those publishers, though, don't tend to be even on the radar to
Dude,
have a rep.
Let's be honest, dude.
Have a rep.
I knew Telos, and I knew a bunch of the titles under Devolver Digital. Never fucking heard of Devolver Digital before today, man. You didn't know who Devolver Digital was before today.
Yes, and my first time finding who they are was not in a pleasant way. It's a bad way to get into news.
I mean, they are that indie publisher. They're not EA. They're not Microsoft. They're not Sony.
But you're still arguing that the risk is low, and but here's the difference between me and Zeno if you're not getting this argument. I hate gambling because I hate losing. So I am, weirdly enough, when it comes to my money, I'm way pickier.
Not saying it's a gamble. I'm pretty sure they knew this was going to fail. But they were like, we'll publish it. We're not promising you anything. I'm pretty sure Nerial
I would have skipped.
probably had penalties put on them for the poor sales.
Oh, God, with 14, this is... Yeah, but like I said, here's the thing. We didn't know who Devolver Digital is. And it would have been better if we still didn't. It didn't work out for them. This is not the
99% of the
conversation that you
people,
want to come up
99% of the people in the world still don't know who Devolver Digital is, dude. It's a small group of people who are going this deep into looking who Devolver Digital is.
All right, so now your stance is they're small enough they can get away with it. I'll go with that. I'll let you have that.
I mean, they're
small
an
enough to
indie
get away with
development
it.
company. They don't really need to say no to a publish.
Maybe. I just hate that SBI, because here's the thing. You're saying that, but the evidence is against you. It is very likely that what's going to happen, and say I'm wrong, I dare you to say I'm wrong, that within a few months, we'll hear about layoffs. Because this is what happens when you work with SBI. You start laying people off, your company tends to see. I hate to see it happen.
But that won't have
no matter
anything to
how
do.
small
That won't
you
have
are.
anything to do with Devolver Digital. That'll have to do with Nereal.
Well, there's people at Nereal that need their job, man. I don't want people to not have their job. Even SBI, I wish they'd go do something else, but I don't want them to not have a job
But
at
you know
all.
what? If they wouldn't have been able to publish their game, they probably would have already been fired.
I don't
Matter
know.
of fact,
This game was really
the
bad. I'm sorry, I'm looking
the
at
company,
the
the
game.
company probably would have went out of business entirely if they couldn't publish their game.
They could have tried to publish a good one. Okay, well, you know, it's agree to disagree. I'm less of a risk taker, but I get his logic too. They're small enough. This may have no impact. Now, problem is, it is showing up on channels that are really big. It may pass over. It may become a talking point. Who knows? I don't really care. Like he said, Devolver Digital, I'm more concerned is SBI going to cost people their jobs again. I hate seeing it. It's a tragedy.
I mean, Devolver
And,
Digital's next
you know,
game they're publishing is the Talos Principle Reawakened. I guarantee you nobody's thinking about the Crush House when the Talos Principle
Well, that's
Reawakened
good
comes
because,
out.
like I said, I hate seeing SBI because some of the companies they put under, I think, had potential. I really kind of felt like if they'd have stayed away from them, we might be looking forward to the second game they put out. And I consider them a plague upon the gaming industry. And if they harm another studio, that's going to be a crying shame. And I'm never going to cover for them because they've caused so much damage in the gaming industry. And I'll admit, it is my bias against SBI. It's not about Devolver Digital or Nereal. It's about SBI. I consider SBI that bad for business that to me, it's just a guaranteed you're going to lose money the second anybody that even friggin' ever worked there walks through your door.
But I
think
mean,
they're
look,
just gonna cost you
looking
money.
at the game, the SBI crowd fits into that game perfectly.
The game. Okay, I was going to critique the game because I don't want to pick on the Nary people because, like I said, I can't out of one side of my mouth saying you can make these games and then pick on the game for being really weird.
But this is one of those cases where the genre of game is the exact genre that SBI should be involved in.
I will say it's their type of game. I'll give you that. And I still wish it was anybody but SBI. But again, I'm now admitting that is because I don't like SBI.
Which with several,
like, what could have been Black Girl Gaming or one of the others?
But with several of the developers also being past, or writers or people involved
being in or from SBI, yeah.
It makes sense.
Well, at least they are making their own games. You know what? I'll flip on it and say, SBI, at least you're making your own games and you're not messing with my stuff. So you're right. I get your angle now. Yeah, over there, you know what? In fact, guys, I believe you should check out Crush House.
Yeah,
you should give it a go.
All right. Last up is just a quick.
Maybe they'll leave us alone if they're over there playing that. SBI. I'm talking about SBI when I say they. You don't know what they means anymore these days. They is an SBI.
Last topic, just a quick update on where we are at with Path of Exile 2.
I'm just making sure my kid didn't set your house on fire.
Yeah, okay. We've been talking about this for a few weeks now. Both of us have gotten to the in-game content now. And I will say I am pretty miserable with the in-game content.
You finally came around, huh?
Well, no, it's only one mistake, honestly, dude.
It's only the end game.
I don't actually have a problem with the end game itself. I have a problem with when the end game starts.
Yes.
The fact that I can't finish my character's base build without going through the end game is my problem with the end game. If the end game was something after I got my base build finished, then I would be fine with the in-game difficulty.
If you were going for epic level perks or something in game, but the fact that like I'm stuck at like level 72, I don't have the map pieces to go up. I don't have the resource because unfortunately the end game is very resource deprived. You need a resource to even engage with the end game, and you need a certain tier of resource. So what he's saying is that like you might not even be able to level your character for weeks.
Yeah, so the level cap is 100. And
100? Oh my God, I'm nowhere near that.
Yeah. And so the end game started, I was level 67 when I got to the end game. The end game starts at level 65 if you go by the level of the lowest map piece. But because we do full clear maps and stuff, we were a little over. But
I was
yeah.
68 when I got there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, at least allow me to get to level 90 before really the end game starts.
That's close enough. Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
Because then I could ink my way those last 10 levels with in-game stuff.
Because the thing is, with the XP, it's like most RPGs, especially ARPGs, you get way less experience from lower level enemies until eventually you're getting practically none.
Yeah.
I've ran into that problem. I don't have a level 10 map piece, so I can't level. Like, I played for almost 3 straight weeks, and I think I barely eked out a single level in 3 constant weeks of play because of the map deprivation and the way the end game works. Now, it's an easy solution. They need to add more acts. I mean, add more acts, then I would push the level up, and by the time you get to end game, even if I could at least get to level 80-something, I'd be happy. But, yeah, the end game is really miserable. And that's not even getting into, they've had some real challenges with hacking and cheating.
Recently there's been a lot of hacking, which honestly, I mean, I've played a lot of MMOs and online games, and I'm sort of just used to hearing about hacking with that. It happens pretty much with every MMO. But I mean, I get it sucks, especially when you are playing a higher difficulty game where resources are scarce. And it can be really a lot of hours. I mean, I'm talking hundreds of hours that can take to get some of even one piece of the gear that gets stolen, so
my thing too is just like I said, the scarcity issue makes the end game a bit challenging, more challenging than it needs to be now. I feel like it's gonna weed out a lot of people. I mean, heck, it's weeded me out. I stopped playing because I haven't leveled. I'm wasting my time. I mean, I've literally gathered a handful of map pieces, and I did the math, and I think I said I needed like somewhere around 27 plus map 1 pieces to get a single of the map tier that kind of isn't really the level I need. It's still a level lower. And I just looked at it, and I looked at my time and said, you've got to at some point go, time value isn't adding up. Now, game's incredibly fun to play through. I played through it several times.
Well, I guess,
fun.
And that's my thing with the end game. I mean, I'm one who would get to the end game if let's say 90 was about where the end game started. Then I'd occasionally get on, play around with a few maps here and there, and I'd ink my way up to 100. I'd complete my character. But I feel like I'd have to put in twice the amount of time I've already put in to go through the acts just to get to halfway,
Basically, what he's saying is that you can't casually finish your character.
Yeah.
You won't make the season. Like if I started playing hardcore from now on, I probably would barely hit 100 before release.
Yeah.
Just because of the way it works. Because, or unless you want to get really into the trade economy, but that's how you get hacked. It's from trading with people. That's how you get hacked. The trade economy has this 1%er problem of the top people gouging the prices up so that there's a huge gap between the have and have-nots. So it's at the end game. But the game's amazing up to that point. I do feel I got my money's worth. But they've got to push the level cap of the campaign up because the end game, I'm going to be blunt, needs to be optional.
Well,
it needs a massive
the great
change.
thing is the game's still early access. the company is still adding content to the first Path of Exile. We'll know they'll continue to add content to Path of Exile 2. So it's not like you can't come back later. And that's what I see myself doing is I've gotten a good amount of play. I enjoyed the game. I want to see the other classes and stuff. And I want to see them add some more content to really launch me forward. So
I'll be returning.
Yeah.
This isn't like Diablo where like I'm out.
No.
I'll come back, especially when I get my specters going. Though it's looking pretty bad for how they're gonna do it. I think the spirit cost gonna be too. Oh, you don't care. That's mechanics.
Yeah.
Let's just say. But I'm still gonna come back and take a look, especially if they add my ascendancy. Like you know, everybody fingers crossed for third witch ascendancy being necromancer. But the game is good. The game is good, but I will say, don't hedge your bets on the end game. You are gonna really need to be really dedicated to enjoy it.
I mean,
it's just the truth.
If you're familiar with Path of Exile 1 end game, it's sort of like that, but even grindier.
It's worse if you have multiple characters. Oh, the biggest problem with the end game is that it's shared across all your characters.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you why that's a problem.
It's a
scarcity.
Yeah, it's a semi-problem due to scarcity. I don't say it's a big problem because none of the things you can buy on there actually change anything to do with your characters. It only changes how in-game works.
But scarcity, I'm having enough trouble finding the map pieces to
no,
level
I
my
get
main
that,
character.
But what I'm saying though is it does not actually affect the character. It affects the end game. So all the stuff on that tree is things drop quicker, things drop at higher rarities, more equipment drops, stuff like that. Nothing that actually affects individual characters, so you don't have to worry about, well, that's not going to be valid for a magic build or versus a melee build. It has nothing to do with magic or melee. It is annoyance because I do like to have sort of different layouts, but I get you. I just wanted to clarify.
Well, like you said, but like you added up the points, and like you pointed out, you don't have enough points to fill out any of the trees.
Yeah.
But if you could do different builds for different characters, you could have a character that farms map pieces. You could have a character that challenges in-tier bosses because there's a boss tree. You could actually, engineer each character to a role, which would increase reason to switch between to have multiple characters. But here, I'm disincentivized because I had to retire my monk because I'm having enough trouble having enough map pieces to level my witch.
Yeah.
I had to choose who gets to level. Now, if I can get my witch to upper tier, it is a weird kind of the haves have more because then I'll have the access to map pieces to level them. But I'd like to just be able to run them both doing their own thing. That's just me. I don't want my witch and monk to be tied to each other at the hip. I'd rather it be different, things I'm doing. Again, it's not a deal breaker. The game is great. It's just like I stated, the end game is an acquired taste.
Yeah. All right. I think we're going to wrap it up with that. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to check out Dicejunkies.com where you can find links everywhere we are online, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell on our YouTube channel. And as every week,